شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us another opportunity to meet here this morning. We beseech Him to shower His blessing on the noblest of all mankind, Muhammad, His household, companions, progenies, and those who follow His path till the day of judgment. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We are still on our topic, the topic we started yesterday, that is Tarbiyatul Awlad fi Insha'il Watan Al-Amin, child upbringing in creating a secured nation. Today, we want to respond to some questions concerning tarbiyah. Because I believe when people listen to tarbiyah, the question that will come to mind is, when are we expected to start this tarbiyah? Are we expected to start after giving birth to the child? Are we expected to start this tarbiyah before giving birth to the child? Which time is the best to start this tarbiyah? This type of a question was asked from a scholar. A man just gave birth to a child, he was very happy, and he ran to the scholar that, "Oh, dear scholar, my wife has just put to bed. I want to ask you, when are we expected to start a tarbiyah, child upbringing?" The scholar kept quiet for a while. And the guy was like, "What calls for this silence?" And the scholar raised his head by saying that, "Ju'ita muta'akhiran, you came late for the question. Coming down after your wife has given birth to a child, asking about when do you supposed to start the tarbiyah, you are late on this question." But the man said, whenever you are thinking of getting married, that is when you are expected to start training your child. Because the choice of your wife will have effects on the children. That's why you are expected to think about the wife you want to get married to. If you don't think about that wife, if you are trying to go this way, automatically the wife will go another way. So if anybody asks us, when are we supposed to start this tarbiyah? Tarbiyah starts when you are thinking of getting married. You choose your wife. You ensure that your ideas, your understanding, and also your knowledge about Islam, the wife you want to get married to, you are on the same page on this. There was a scholar by name Abul Aswad ad-Du'ali, rahmahullah ta'ala. The man gathered his children and he was talking to them that, "All you my children, ahsantu ilaykum sigaran wa kibaran wa qabla an tuladu." I was very kind to you when you were young and when you were old, and even before you were given birth to. The children were like, "Oh father, arafna ihsanaka ilayna sigaran wa kibaran." We knew, we witnessed it, the righteousness, the kindness we gained, we heard from you while we were young and when we are old. But the kindness from you to us before the birth, we cannot understand it. The man said, the kindness was that, اخترت لكم من الأمهات ما لا تسبون بها. I selected for you, my children, among the women, a mother that no one will insult you with. So you can see. So when you talk about child upbringing, not after giving birth to the child, you are expected to be thinking of it before getting settled. So as a man or a woman, you have to open your eyes before you get married. You have to think twice before you get married. Some are righteous men before they get married. Some were righteous women before they got married. But at the end of the day, they turn to another thing as a result of the fact that they committed error in choosing the life partner. Then another area I want to look at is 3 facts that must be considered. The first one is, many of us today, there are many things we cannot really deal with Even dealing with ourselves, we find it difficult. When you commit a mistake, to own up that you commit a mistake, you find it difficult. To say you are sorry when someone tells you that you have done this wrongly, you find it difficult to do what? To say you are sorry. Such person, it will be difficult for him to train a child. Because you want to train the child in order to be someone that will be a complete personality. And among those things, a complete personality is expected to imbibe, to embellish himself with, is to own up when you know that you have committed an error. And you don't find it difficult to tell people that you are sorry. And also, such person should be able to discover himself or herself. Secondly, al-yadul wahid la tusaffiq. One hand cannot clap. Whenever you are thinking of tarbiyah in Islam, it is not for the father alone. It is not for the mother alone. That's why scholars usually say that whenever there is a challenge between the husband and the wife, before you agree on divorce, you have to think of many things. Because if a woman single-handedly trains children, it is not complete. And if a man single-handedly trains the children, it is not complete. So both the father and the mother, we must understand that this tarbiyah we are talking about, it is our duty, not for the mother alone, not for the father alone. We are there together to ensure that the future of these children is bright. It is okay Islamically. And the third one, you must understand that al-mujtama wal-bi'a. The society we find ourselves, an environment we live in, contribute a lot in this tarbiyah we are talking about. The contribution could be negative, the contribution could be positive. That's why when we talk about agent of socialization, as Muslims, we must understand the fact that you cannot isolate yourself. Because I want to be spiritually inclined, as a result of that, I will be in the mosque always. That is never part of our training. That is never part of our teaching from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You must understand the fact that the environment will have positive or negative impact on you. That's why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that when you want to make friends, al-mar'u ala dini khalili, a man will always be on the religion, on the character of his friend. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحْدُكُمْ أَنْ يُخَالِلْ. Let one of you observe the person you want to make friends with. And I could remember in those days in our madrasa, there is this poem, عَنِ الْمَرْءِ لَا تَسْأَلْ وَأَبْصِرْ قَرِينَهُ. When you meet someone, you don't need to ask about the person, just look at his companion. فَكُلُّ قَرِينٍ بِالْمُقَارَنِ يَقْتَدِي. Because everybody who moves with a particular set of people definitely will imitate them. So, and also the popular saying is, man is a product of nature and nurture. Allah has created us with that natural instinct in us. But the environment we find ourselves may change those good things in us to another thing if you don't take it serious. So these are the three things we want us to understand whenever you are talking about child upbringing in Islam. Now, what are the means by which you can instill this tarbiyah in our children? There are many means we can use. But the first one, which I consider the most important, is at-tarbiyah bil-qudwa, is to train our children by being a role model to them on everything. So it means that you as parents, as a father or as a mother, if you are not a role model to your child or to your children, automatically it may be difficult for them to be a good child. Look at it today. Some parents, they take liquor without boundaries. They engage in obscenities without boundary. They eat what they are not supposed to eat. They discuss what they are not supposed to discuss. Automatically, when the children are there looking at you, they will think that that is the order of the day. Husband maltreating his wife while the children are there. The wife disrespecting her husband when the children are there. Automatically, that is not a good role model. So if you want your child to be good, you must ensure that you are a role model, good role model to them. You talk about salat, you don't pray. When it is time for salat, you continue sleeping, and you are expecting your children to be observing salat. When it is time to fast in the month of Ramadan, you don't do it, and you are expecting your children to take after you. When there is an argument between you and the mother, and the mother, what do? You beat her, blue, black. So automatically, you are laying a bad foundation. The children, definitely they will be imitating you when they grow up in such a bad character. So that's the first means by which you can train a child. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has laid good example on this area, and also the early Muslims, our predecessors, they ensure that whatever they want to do, other people could emulate them, because that very thing is good. Then the second one is to train children using the custom in our environment. In our environment, there are good customs, and also there are ones that are not good. For example, to know how to greet people is one of the customs that we really appreciate in this environment of ours. Our children should be trained in that line. Whenever you see older people, elders, you should greet them, whether woman or man. You are expected to greet them. In Yoruba land, for example, when you meet a child, be it a girl or a boy, and the person just passes by you, they will call the person and tell him that, are you blind? Can't you see? They are expecting such child to greet. So Islam wants us to train our children using the good custom in our environment. For those who are Muslims, your children should know that when you meet them, you say taslim to them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. For those who are not Muslims, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So we must train our children on that. Then also, visiting the sick is another tradition, is another custom that we have in our environment. So you must teach your child on that, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it clear that as a Muslim, you are expected to visit your Muslim brother who is not feeling fine. Then also, at tarbiyah bil maw'idah, you train your child using lecture, using sermon, using exhortation. When you observe that your children is engaging in one or two things that are bad, what do? You call his attention to it. You call our attention to it by letting him know that in the Holy Quran, this is what Allah says. In the saying of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet said this about that attitude. Then also, you train your child using story. Short stories. We can train our child using such stories. In the Holy Quran, there are numerous stories you can use to train our child. Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala, was reported to have said that al-hikaya, story, jundun min junudullah, is one of the soldiers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you are in a distress, when you are in any challenge and you listen to some stories, you will gain your sanity again. So in Islam, we are expected to train our child using this means, that is short story. You tell them story is another way by which you can train your child. And the last one is training the child with dialogue and communication. Don't be the type that you can't dialogue with your children. Don't be the type that you can't communicate effectively with your children. Everything is beaten. No. You sit them down. What is going on here? What happened? What do you have to say about this? You allow them to express themselves. And wherever they find themselves, they will be able to express themselves without fear of anything. So it's another way by which you can train our children. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a day, Hassan or Hussein, he went to take from the zakah a date. Prophet asked him, what is this? He said, this is a date from zakah. Prophet now told him that, don't you know that we, the household of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we don't eat zakah. So he told the Prophet when he asked him, and he corrected him that these how things should go. Then what are the characteristics or the features of Islamic training, Islamic tarbiyah? The first one is ar-rabbaniyah. It is godly. Whatever you want to discuss in Islamic training, everything is from Allah. The source is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever you are doing must be in consonance with the dictate of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, the second feature is ash-shumul wa takamul. It is comprehensive and complete. It is not a training that takes care of the intellect alone at the expense of other parts of the body. It takes care of the intellect, the physical appearance, the soul, and also the heart. That is to tell us that training Islam should be all encompassing. And the third one is at-tawazun. It is balanced. Balance. Training that entails both this world and the world to come. In Islam does not tell us that you leave this world because you are after the world to come. No, you combine the two together. وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Seek from Allah, seek from this world, the world to come. And do not forget your portion in this art service. Surah Al-Qasas, verse 77. Then also, Al-Thabat wal-Muruna. There are some areas in Islamic training that are rigid, and some areas are flexible. All these are the feature of Islamic training in Islam. Then this training, what is the motive? What do we stand to benefit from it? Generally speaking, we are doing this to ensure that we become true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To do what is expected of us to do on earth service. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Surah Al-Dhariyat, verse 56. I have not created both the jinns and mankind except to worship Allah. This training wants to make us true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then also to have good belief in Allah, to have good character, to relate socially according to the dictate of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, psychologically and emotionally, to be balanced, and also physically to be okay. The last one is, what are the characteristics expected of someone who wants to undergo this? One, al-ikhlas, sincerity of purpose. At-taqwa, you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then knowledge. You don't engage in what you don't have knowledge of it. And we are telling the parent, listen to us, learn about it. So these are some of those things you want to call our attention to on the issue of a child upbringing in Islam. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our supplication of our children, and pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our children a righteous one, and pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to crown all our efforts on them with success, both in this world and the world to come. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
هذا القرآن يوحدنا لطريق الخير يوجهنا. الله تعالى أنزله ورسول الله معلمنا. هذا القرآن يوحدنا لطريق الخير يوجهنا. الله تعالى